We purchased 8 new MacBook Pros in a variety of configurations to make the most valuable M1 Pro and Max videos you could find, and I think we absolutely succeeded over the last month with many videos that have discoveries that no one else mentioned anywhere on the web. And after all the crazy in-depth testing, people asked, what are you gonna do with the machines? Well, as you know, one of them was sent off to Matthew in Canada after he won our $2,500 M1 MacBook Pro giveaway. Some, of course, will be sold, and some of them we're gonna keep here for long-term testing and comparisons, but this exact $3,500 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro is going straight back to Apple. And in this video, I'll explain exactly why and cover probably the toughest choice to make this year and my honest opinion about it after almost 1 month of use. Now, if you watch some of the M1 Max videos, you'll know that this is an absolutely amazing machine. The performance in this 4.7 pound package is astonishing. Now, sure, the 5600M graphics card in the 16-inch last year was really fast, but we have never seen such a huge leap in technology in just 1 year. Of course, Apple has unapologetically backed out of many of their previous decisions, some that annoyed people like the touch bar, and others that straight up made people buy Windows machines like having ports and an SD card built in, and now they even brought back MagSafe but made it even better with braided cables and fast charging. Now, nobody asked for better speakers because they were already the best, but they somehow improved them with super low, deep bass. The webcam is also hugely improved, and each Thunderbolt port has its own dedicated controller, meaning that the 3 ports are more like 6 this year, and even the keyboard feels improved over last year. Of course, the display is absolutely gorgeous as well. Now, no, it is not perfect, but no other laptop can touch it, and I'll cover more about this in my full M1 Max review, which will be coming out soon. So if you guys want to see it, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that circle below, and with that, you can help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers. We would absolutely appreciate it. What is even more impressive is the sheer performance. This 16-inch MacBook Pro is a beast, and there's not a single laptop out there that can match it, especially if you care about it actually being a laptop. Now, sure, some of them have better raw performance, for example, the Razer Blade Advanced RTX 3080, and that thing scored 140,000 points in Geekbench, more than double what this M1 Max's 32 graphics offer. But when it came time for real-world performance, the M1 Max excelled in multiple ways and blew away our already high expectations, and I'll show you exactly why. Heck, even compared to a full-on desktop computer like my $15,000 Mac Pro, this $3,500 MacBook punches way above its weight. It's basically David versus Goliath. Now, I expected that regular 4K video exporting would be faster, and my goodness, it is, literally being almost twice as fast for the type of footage that most people work with. But what I didn't expect were the results when I threw the absolute toughest footage that there is to work with. My Mac Pro's processor is roughly 15% faster under load, and the graphics are 47% more powerful, all while using up to 7 times more power to get this performance. Now, in my comparison, I kept pushing the MacBook harder and harder and harder to see where it would crack, and it just wouldn't. And in the last test, where no encoders are helping it work faster, it still managed to beat out my $15,000 Mac Pro in a test where both the CPU and the GPU were completely maxed out, and it did so on battery power and for less than a quarter of the price, and that also includes the amazing display, the speakers, and more. So with all this raving about this machine and the performance being so good, why in the world would I be returning this silver beast of a laptop? Well, the truth is, it is actually a very tough choice. But first, let me tell you about our sponsor. If you've been thinking about making your own website, Squarespace is seriously the best way to go. You can build a great looking website like we did with literally no web making experience. It doesn't matter if you want a portfolio, a blog, e-commerce, or anything else, you just simply choose a template and customize blocks of text and images and easily move them around. It is incredibly simple, it's very affordable, and ours have been running flawlessly for over 3 years, bringing in tons of traffic thanks to its built-in SEO tools. Start your free 2-week trial with no credit card required by going to squarespace.com/maxtech or by using our custom link down below. And when you are ready to launch, you will save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Now, like many of you, I have always purchased 15-inch MacBook Pros and then later 16-inch MacBook Pros because they were so much more powerful than Apple's 13-inch MacBooks for two reasons. The first one is obviously the performance. Apple's larger MacBooks have typically had processors that have double the cores with much more CPU performance, but an even bigger difference was the graphics. Going from super weak integrated graphics to dedicated graphics made an insane difference in real-world performance in tests that I regularly did, even with the cheapest larger MacBook. So much so that buying an $1,800 13-inch MacBook Pro was almost a ripoff compared to just buying the base 16-inch. The second part was the display size. For those of you guys that do video editing like I do, having that larger screen made a world of a difference if you're even spending, say, an hour on a video project. Of course, the struggle was with weight and size, as the 13-inch was so much more compact and portable, and for many people, including myself, that size was just way more enjoyable to use day to day. Now, when the M1 MacBooks came out, suddenly we had this unbelievable change where even the fanless M1 MacBook Air performed astonishingly well and could handle any work that most people would throw at it. And sure, the M1 CPUs had absolutely insane performance, but for those that needed extra graphics performance, this was the weak spot for the machine, and it could get significantly slower if you do that kind of work. Now, because of that, if I needed great total performance, I still had to go back to a 16-inch MacBook Pro despite so many drawbacks, like way worse battery life, loud fan noise, and much bigger size. That is where this current paradigm shift came in, and for the first time ever in MacBook history, you could spec the new 14-inch MacBook Pro exactly the same as the larger 16-inch size with up to 64 gigabytes of RAM, an M1 Max 32-core processor, and 8 terabytes of SSD space. But with that exciting change, we also had two changes that made this seemingly easy choice much more difficult, and that put me and many of you guys back to square one. And I was sitting there contemplating how to make the correct choice because of 5 key points. Now, if you guys watched Apple's keynote, it seemed like you just choose the size you want, but at Max Tech, we found some major differences. The first one was battery life. Now, one of the big reasons in the past to get a 13-inch was the better battery life, but with these new 14-inch and 16-inch Apple Silicon machines, the 16-inch gets significantly better battery life, with the 14-inch barely improving over the past 13-inch machines, while the 16 has insane battery life and, of course, performance, both for simple tasks and heavy loads. The second was, of course, the screen size, with that size still being preferable for productivity tasks, and the third was fan noise, with the 16-inch running cooler and quieter than the 14-inch, and then we have actual real-world performance and the fact that the 16-inch is now only $200 more expensive for an arguably better machine in many ways. We found that Apple literally artificially limited the performance of the 14-inch M1 Max, even if the computer is fully charged and running very cool. The 32-core graphics in the 14-inch at best runs 200 megahertz slower than the 16-inch, which in simple tasks shows a noticeable difference, but when you push the machines, the difference can grow up to 36%, which is massive for a $200 difference. We did a ton of testing for many specific use cases, so if you haven't yet watched that video, you definitely should check it out after this one. But I have to say that after all those tests, I totally understand why Apple artificially is limiting the performance, because even if the much smaller cooling assembly isn't being maxed out, the 40% smaller battery would just be killed so much faster if they gave it the full performance, which is also why it does not have the high power mode. And after all of that testing, I was convinced that the 16-inch is the right choice for anybody that cares about performance. But in the coming weeks of use, I slowly started to change my mind every time I used the 16-inch after using the 14-inch. Yes, the 14-inch has worse performance, and yes, the 14-inch fans can be audible where the 16-inch fans will stay silent under the same use cases, and yes, the battery life difference is noticeable in real-world use, and yes, the 16-inch display is nice to have when you're pushing the machine along with the noticeably better speakers. The 16-inch MacBook is a clearly superior machine, and for only $200 more, it just makes total logical sense. But what I found is that you can't always just go by logic, and sometimes the machine that just feels better and makes you want to take it along with you is the right choice, even if it is full of compromises. Every time I take the 16-inch with me, I don't enjoy using it anywhere near as much as the 14-inch machine because of how chunky and heavy it is. We haven't had a MacBook this heavy for a long time. It's really noticeable, even going from the Intel's 16-inch of last year, because it did get significantly thicker and heavier, where the 14-inch is actually slightly thinner and it didn't gain that much in weight. What I have found is that even though the 14-inch is slower, it is still fast enough for everything that I throw at it. And in those times where something takes a minute or two longer, I just don't notice it because, it's just doing its thing. And with that, there is literally no other 14-inch machine that packs this amount of performance into this size on the market. And even if the battery life is worse than the 16-inch, it still has the best battery life out of any high-performance 14-inch laptop. And of course, it performs the same exact on battery power as it does when it's plugged in, which is rare. With that, for those times that I do need insane battery life, I can literally power it and at the same time charge the battery by a cheap USB Type-C power bank, even if I'm pushing the machine, which is another amazing achievement thanks to Apple Silicon. So after weeks of real-world use, I am making the decision that I never thought I would. I'm making the choice that does not make logical sense, but one that I'm certain about now, and I am returning the machine that I thought would be my long-term performance laptop, and that is the 16-inch M1 MacBook Pro. And I'm surprisingly going with the illogical 14-inch MacBook Pro despite its many drawbacks. And for those of you stuck in the same decision loop, if you're somebody who enjoys having a smaller machine, I can now say that I just wouldn't hesitate to make the same choice that I did as well. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our series of videos where we did the most in-depth testing. If you did, go ahead and click that circle above to subscribe and help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers. Check out one of those great comparisons right over there. This has been Max Tech, and I'll see you in the next video.